Hi, I'm Cheryl Duffy, the author of the bestseller The Divorce Tango. And today we have a special guest here to introduce to you. It's Sandy Ellis, the financial advisor and director of Sandy Ellis Wealth Protection. There are some major considerations to make when going through divorce in concerns with your finances. And I have a few questions here to ask Sandy that you may have, and this will alleviate some of those questions that you have lingering. So the first one is, Sandy, what are the main issues you see your clients embarking when they're going through divorce?
Thank you, Cheryl. Look, I think divorce is difficult. The clients are going through a really big, significant change. It's probably the biggest financial decision-making time of their lives. The biggest decision that is front of mind is one of the parties generally moves out of the family home, and associated with that is a lot of costs.
Yeah.
You then may potentially be down to one income, and then as on top of that, you're then responsible for 100% of your living costs.
Yeah.
And there's additional costs dealing with the divorce. So all of your advisors, so your divorce coach, your financial advisor, your accountant, your lawyer, and your psychologist.
Absolutely. So with the decision making throughout the divorce, how do poor decisions affect their long-term financial security?
I think financial decision-making is hard anyway. And when you're going through a divorce, it's just very emotional and very stressful.
Absolutely.
And pretty much it's hard for any of us to separate emotions from decision-making. And a poor decision, as you said, has long-term ramifications. And pretty much the things that I've seen the most is really getting independent advice. Guides you through that process. So that's a decision in itself.
Yeah.
So not getting advice is a poor decision. And then the other things that I've seen is really your whole landscape is changing, your financial landscape. So your investments in particular, they may have a long time horizon, and you may now be faced with a decision and having to sell them. So should they really be in the share market, for example? There could be a change in the share market. Insurances often get ignored, which, all things being equal, if you don't need it, that's okay. But insurance is the foundation of your financial independence. You may not be able to get insurance. Some other things I've seen, pretty much the biggest impact, regardless of divorce or not, but in particular it's exacerbated through divorce, is reducing your expenses. So it's really, if you're potentially down to one income and increasing 100% of your expenses, there's some big decisions to be made.
Well, reducing down from two incomes down to one, certainly your lifestyle is going to change. And looking at the investments that you may have in place, hopefully you'd want to try and keep some of those to secure your future, as opposed to making that drastic decision without getting the advice.
Correct.
And keeping some of them.
That's right. And there's going to be tax implications with those as well. And it's the same even, with your home. You may be living in your home, but at some point that may have actually been rented out before you moved into it. So there might be capital gains tax implications. So it's really important that you see your advisors, and they ask a lot of questions that you don't realise. So, and that's what they're experts in. So it's really important. Some of the other big things is not changing your bank accounts. So really, if you've got joint bank accounts, you need to fix them up. And redirect your salary going into your bank account in your own name. Making sure that your will is updated and your superannuation beneficiaries are updated.
Absolutely. There'd be nothing worse, would there, that you have a divorce and you've forgotten to do those things and something drastic happens to you, and then your poor children are not secured because the beneficiary is your ex, that you no longer want them to have that.
And that's right. And things can actually happen down the track with your ex as well. He may repartner or may have already repartnered.
Yeah, absolutely.
And sometimes, they may end up having difficulties themselves. For example, a drug problem, alcoholism, something going wrong in their family. There's a lot of things that can happen. So you want to keep control for your children. So the ex with the best of intentions right now, it may change.
Absolutely.
So you want to keep control. Put it in the name of the kids right from the start.
No, good advice there. So how can the people avoid some of the issues that they may encounter going through divorce, financial issues?
I think that the real key is getting independent advice.
Yeah.
So it's getting advice from all of your advisors. The advisors all working together for you. It's an emotional time.
Yeah.
So really it's just advice.
Mm.
One thing that gets missed sometimes is the estate planning. They kind of
Yeah.
wait until the end. And I know there's a lot to be done,
Yeah.
but it's actually not difficult to change the super nominations, for example,
Yeah.
and getting the will done once again. It doesn't have to be difficult, and
No.
it's really important.
Yeah, definitely.
And then probably just the only other one is just the financial advisor. Sometimes clients will see their accountant,
Yep.
who will look at things very much from an asset and liability, income and expenditure perspective, but they're not financial advisors, so they're not looking at your investments and the tax implications of what to do with different
Yep.
assets.
And your long-term financial security.
Correct, that's
Yeah.
right. That's right.
So when they're going through divorce, it's quite important then that they don't make knee-jerk reaction decisions, that they make sure that they've got that advice and making sure they have all of the information and options on the table so that they're making a very clear decision that they know is going to secure them and secure their future.
That's right. And they've got help to make it in a more rational manner.
Yes, definitely.
Because it's just so emotional, and I think that's the thing that you kind of, I think some people look back
Yes.
and they realise that they probably, if they actually had a bit more advice, they may have made some different decisions.
Yeah, well, I think they may feel under a lot of pressure. The one departing may want to access the money a lot faster. So to be able to sort of slow that whole process down so that those decisions are not regretted later is probably the key, isn't it?
It's massive, that's right, because some of those decisions will impact you year after year.
Yeah, definitely. And what would you say to people whose relationship has just broken down, their partner's just left? What's the key thing that they should do as the first thing?
The first thing, it would be the bank accounts.
Yeah.
So expenses is always important. So you would close the accounts if you can. That's not always possible. So you may limit access to them. So that's actually making it 2 signatories to sign, limiting access on the internet, setting up your own bank account and redirecting your salary or any income into the new bank account. And then the other one is your expenses have all changed and your income.
Yeah.
So looking at your budget, even if it's just the preliminary budget, it's really important that you can meet your expenses.
And particularly with those bank accounts, we always have to remember that the person we married is not the person we're divorcing. So I see a lot of people become quite shocked in the behaviour of their partner, where they fully trusted them financially and thought that they cared about them, their spouse and their children. But sometimes the people that leave take the money and run that's in the bank account. So it's very crucial that they make sure that that access is restricted to the two of you, so that those decisions on how much is going to be split are negotiated, and not having someone just make that decision and take the money.
That's
so it's
right.
very important.
Yeah, I think once again people sometimes start out with the best of intentions.
Yeah.
And very quickly they then get advice, they speak to people they know, and before you know it, they've just changed.
Yeah.
So you really want to make those decisions up front. It just stops a lot of heartache going forward. Is to look at your estate planning. So getting your will right and your superannuation death benefit nominations is really important.
And you should do that straight away as soon as they leave, shouldn't you? Because let's face it, if something happened to you, your financial security is then all going to be passed over to your ex when you really want that to be for your children to secure their financial future.
That's right, and it's really a matter of retaining control.
Yeah.
So, for example, your ex with the best of intentions will want to potentially look after the children. However, things change. If he's repartnered or has already repartnered, that relationship may have its own problems.
Yeah.
There may be drugs or alcohol or gambling or any number or disabilities.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things that can happen. and then the funds may not end up with your children.
Yeah, definitely.
And then the other one's your superannuation, just making sure that you don't need these benefit nominations, which is easily fixed.
Yeah, definitely. So you're wanting to secure that, so it is definitely not going to your ex.
Correct. That's right.
So what other items would you say needs to be changed there when a relationship initially breaks down?
That's when you go and see all of your advisors.
Yeah.
So that's then gives you the peace of mind. So it's a very stressful part of it, going through the divorce.
Yeah, definitely.
And it can get very confusing, getting advice from friends, for example, and it just creates a lot of stress that you don't need.
And you get that conflicting advice from various people who are not the professionals.
Correct. And then it just adds to the stress, and you start thinking, have I done the right thing? Have I done the wrong thing?
Yeah.
You get influenced, and then once again the emotions get involved, and it just escalates into something that it shouldn't be.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Sandy, with the services that you provide, what do you give to the people that come to you that have been through a divorce? What types of services do you look at for them?
Yeah, I think the main thing is that the circumstances have changed completely. So we really need to readdress everyone's goals.
Yeah.
And all the way through to retirement to make sure there's enough money there for retirement. And it's really looking at all of the entire financial situation. So your accountant will look at the assets and the tax implications, for example, of selling those assets immediately, whereas the financial advisor will look at your goals, assess what your new goals are, help you to identify what they are, whether or not you increase your income, what options are available, and then it's a matter of looking at your investments, which ones you keep, how long you keep them for. Do you even have a different risk profile now that you're on your own?
Yeah, that's true.
You know, you've got a different level of income coming in.
Yeah.
So you might be a little bit more conservative than you have been in the past. Looking at your insurances, your estate planning, and really just liaising with all of your advisors.
Yeah.
And your divorce coach is, fundamental along the entire way.
Yeah, well, the divorce coach looks after the emotional side, but if you can have that professional in the financial space that puts peace of mind on your financial stability, then you can then have the emotional side concentrated on to help you recover from divorce. So how can the people contact you? What's the best way to get in contact with you so they can engage with you to have some consultation on their case-by-case situation?
Yep, so I'm on LinkedIn, I'm on Facebook, and my website has all of my contact details. And I can see people in person, over the telephone. Really, it's a case-by-case basis and what's required.
Okay, so your website's Sandy Ellis with 2 L's, 2 S's at wealthprotection.com.au?
That's right, yep.
Okay, great. Well, I want to thank you for having this interview with me today. I think it's clarified a lot of questions that some of the clients who are going through divorce may be having. So thank you very much for joining me today.
My pleasure, Shella.